All right, folks, welcome to Smart Living. I'm excited because I have a guest, Darren Strunk, who is the COO of St. Joseph Workers. St. Joseph Workers.
St. Joseph the Worker.
Right.
Yeah.
And basically, you're a nonprofit organization in the Valley here where your whole schlep is really helping people get back in terms in the workforce, find employment, find jobs, and that's your whole schlep. But you have expanded further into homelessness and basically what you'd call almost like the full package.
Yes.
So it's not a la carte service. We're not just finding people a job. We're supporting them from beginning to end.
I like to call it a holistic front to back option for people that are either looking for a job, looking for a better job, looking for a career job. And if then once they have what they need there, then they have access to housing and stable housing. We have a pathway for that. And then we also have professional life skills class to help them with money and food budgeting and some of the soft skills that employers are looking for,
right,
all inside of that. But they're really all based around, we've been around for 36 years, really helping people try to find quality long-term employment.
So give me an example of now you explained very quickly of all the things that you do, but I want to break it down a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get an individual, it's not families that you're taking, it's an individual. So let's say, for example, I lost my job. I was working, retail job at Winco Foods, and then I was living paycheck by paycheck, and all of a sudden I lose my job. So now I can't pay my rent. So would I be somebody that would come to you guys for assistance in maybe finding employment?
Of course. So we'll sit down with anybody and really try to understand their skill set. Mm-hmm. Then obviously if they have a resume, we can create one, but it's also understanding their transportation mode and what their living situation is and how far away. We see a lot of people that take public transportation. So we want to be cognizant of how far a trip is and where the jobs opportunity is.
Right.
So we also have want to see what their physical limitations are. We see a lot of people that have been impacted by the justice system. So we want to have a firm, granular understanding of that. So we're not providing opportunities to people that they can't attain.
Right.
So we really once we understand that, we work with dozens of local businesses and more to really try to hone in on what you want to do, what the pay scale needs to be. If you're obviously living paycheck to paycheck and your rent is X and your car payment is this, you're really going to have a minimum of what you can try to achieve. But we're really sitting down with somebody like that to try to have everybody leave our office, whether they're looking for a job or in this specific situation, with 3 job leads that are consistent with your situation and what you can attain. And when we work with those local businesses, what we're really trying to do is get you set up for an interview rather quickly so that you can get in front of somebody to really shine. And we can prep you for that. We can help you get there. We can help you look the part for that. But it's also to make sure that you can get connected with somebody so that a decision can get made. Because if you're struggling or out of the workforce, you cannot wait 2, 3, 4 weeks
right.
to a check.
And that's why you work with these businesses, so on both ends. So you
right.
have these businesses that are willing to hire these people,
yep.
maybe take a little chance on
Definitely.
them.
If we have a relationship with them and we see something in them, and obviously the decision is always up to the business,
right.
but it's, hey, this is what their situation is, and we can provide context around it. When we interview somebody, we're really trying to understand. Most people just want to be heard. Most people, when you look at something that's bad that's happened on paper, you can kind of understand what was happening in the time frame. It might have been a bad relationship or whatever
right.
it is, but we're trying to provide context to them, and they can make the final decision on that.
Right.
But businesses have always been looking for good people, so it's trying to make that connection so people don't. Nobody likes going online and going to Indeed and going through this. I applied, especially since they've made it to where you can apply to 50 jobs at once. And if you're
yep.
an employer looking at that, you're thinking, this is not what I was looking for, and you're wading through all this stuff, and sometimes just nothing happens.
Yep.
And so people get frustrated by that. And then their fallback is go to a staffing company. I can get a job quickly, but that doesn't lead to any long-term success. That just leads to the staffing company making money off you. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're trying to make this connection around, because all of our services are free, so anybody can walk in and access them. So we see a lot of people that have barriers around financial barriers or transportation barriers or background barriers, or they don't, they're living in a shelter. That could be, and they're trying to find a pathway back, or they're couch surfing. Those are really hard challenges to overcome. And so while we can help anybody, if I'm looking for a job, say at Procter & Gamble, and I just want to get a connection to their, a quick pathway to an interview, like we can help you get that. And a job that, might be $23, $24 an hour to start. So what we're really trying to do is make sure that everybody that is looking for a better opportunity, whether it's somebody that hasn't been in the workforce, could be a stay-at-home mom that's whose situation has changed. It could be somebody that is gone through a reentry situation. It could be somebody that's newly gotten sober and has lost their license. It could be a nurse or a doctor. Like, we've seen it all, and we're really just trying to help people get back in front of somebody so they can continue their employment journey.
Well, get back on their feet.
Basically,
that's what you're doing.
right.
And the core thing, there's so many things to having a job that can help somebody. Self-esteem, self-worth, being part of something.
Yes.
So many things. So with the employment aspect of what you do, you've also expanded a little bit further, because not only are you helping and assisting people wholeheartedly get employment, but there's also the housing factor. Because the reason why they're coming to you is because they're unemployed, but it could be that they're about to be unhoused, or they are unhoused and they have a job.
They're just like, there's a bigger umbrella term around housing insecurity. And I think it speaks to when rents have gone up 30, 40%.
Yes.
And so now you could be in an apartment complex and you can't afford to live there anymore.
Yep.
So now what? Okay, I'm not getting evicted, let's say. My lease could be up. I can't afford a new lease. What am I going to do? Do I have $2,000 laying in the bank just so I can get into a new apartment, so I can pay first and last the deposit?
Yeah.
So that's one problem. It could be somebody that's couch surfing. It could be somebody in a relationship or fleeing domestic violence. There's a lot of different situations that somebody needs a pathway back to housing. So we would also see that, okay, I have a job. Say I make $18, $19 an hour. Now what? A lot of people don't have the financial ability to just squirrel away money at a time, even if they're staying in transitional housing that could be associated with sober living, or just a regular halfway house out of reentry. They don't have the skill set to budget. So that's a big part of our housing plan, is understanding your personal finance and going to that class and really setting aside, like, what are your absolute needs? What are your wants? And then how do you save money behind that? So they basically stay in a 2-bedroom apartment. We have 20 units around the valley.
Okay.
We try to get them in a place that's convenient to where they're working, of course.
Right.
So once they're in with us, they're required to save 70 to 80% of their post-tax check in their own bank account. We don't touch it.
Right.
They are required to meet with us every week to show that they're on track and being accountable. There are house rules. They can't have visitors. They can't have any alcohol or cannabis. It's not a drug program, but we just want it to be a safe place. So that's why you can't have visitors. So it's really for individuals to go to work, get some education around finances. We also have a food budgeting class that I'll touch on. But it's really for that purpose, so that you save $5,000, and on day 91, you have that money to go get your own apartment.
Wow.
So you're really setting yourself up. It's kind of, some 30 days is too quick. You don't have enough time to save money. But really, by day 45 with us, you're really starting to apply to places. Where do you want to live? We're helping you with that decision. Like, what are some apartments that might be within reach, that are in decent neighborhoods? So we're really getting you set up for success. And that way, when you make that transition, you did it all on your own.
Yep.
The apartments that we have are fairly nice. So it gives people that may not be used to be saying, hey, I am worth more than this, right?
Right.
That people
Stainless steel appliances.
Right? And
wow.
having like actual subway tile, and you're looking at this and thinking, like, this is something I can attain. I deserve this. Like, people that come from poverty may not think they're worth more. And so we're really...
Or expect more.
Right.
If you haven't been around more, how do you expect more? I'm sorry. It gives me goosebumps every time you say that, because I'm like, it is so important when people are trying to build themselves back up to realize you deserve this, and to have a home every day to come to that you care about and that you want, makes you want to fight even more. Right?
It is exactly why most people that work here, that's our why. Yeah. We want to make sure that we give people a pathway to self-sufficiency that doesn't include government assistance.
Yes.
It's really a hand up. It's doing it on your own with your own money, that you can do this. We never use the word, hey, if I get a job. No, there's no if you get a job. When you get the job, you'll come back here.
That.
And we are their support system through this, because there's a lot of hope. I mean, lots of people can make relationships and give out resources and, do resumes and provide job leads, but
Right.
just the culture of hope that we have at our offices is really what I feel sets us apart. I'm super proud of that. It starts with the leadership and having a great CEO and a great team and a great staff, and we don't have trouble attracting people that want to come work for
Right.
us. I would say if somebody said, what is the number one thing you have trouble with right now, is honestly, when we talk about our housing program, people think it's too good to be true. What's the catch? It's the number one thing. Why would you let me live there for free?
Right.
What do you mean you're not going to touch my money? Like
Right.
it is, people are hesitant.
Well, because they're like, what's the motivation here? Now you're nonprofit. So
We're a nonprofit.
The motivation is that everybody that works there, what I'm gathering, and even from you in a little bit, is that you're passionate.
Yes.
I mean, Darren, you are passionate about
I
what you
do love this. And I like literally used to say, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
Yep.
And I have been here for 11 years. It's never felt like work. There's been a lot of times where there's a lot of chaos
Sure.
because you wear a lot of hats, and we
Yeah.
love to do more with less. We still have almost 91 cents of every dollar that we raise goes to clients. So we're super proud of how
Really?
we operate.
That's
It's very lean and
huge.
mean. And so ultimately, you want people that we run it like a business, but you would never know it from the client side.
Now, how do you guys get your funding?
It's a little bit of a mix. I mean,
Okay.
some of it is foundations,
Okay.
some of it is businesses and corporations. We have annual events, you have your individual donors, and then
Sure.
you also have, we're kind of coming out of the world of COVID money grants that
Right.
have kind of filtered through the system and will
Right.
end next year. But that's pretty much the mix. We'd like to get a little bit more, obviously, businesses to be involved. And so we're trying to prove to them that we can help you find people, but more so that we can help your team members find, if they're not suffering from housing insecurity, like how much that changes somebody's performance at work when you don't have to worry about what am I going to do for housing.
Yeah.
When I don't have to worry about that, my stuff's going to be there when I get home,
Yeah.
right? And so when we do the apartments, we make sure that it's fully stocked. So I mean, there's pots, pans, and when we do our meal prep and budgeting class, that we start saying, set up these habits for success while you're in here. When they go to that class that we now offer to the general public, and I'll get to that
Right.
in a
I
minute.
want to talk to you about that.
But it is really what the number one cost that somebody can. I can't control what rent costs. I can't
Yep.
control what a car costs. I can't control interest rates. I can't control my car insurance. I could shop around and try to get a better deal. But one thing I can control is my food costs. And I think one of the things that's happened during the whole last 4 years,
Oh,
with
yes.
COVID in particular, is that you've seen food costs rise. Well, everything's risen. Energy, everything,
Right.
which goes
But the
into
basic thing that we all have
every
to
single
have
thing is
has been blown out of proportion.
20, 30, 40% in some cases. Wages haven't kept pace. So, plus, we've also gotten with COVID used to, I can get it delivered. I can DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats. Now I'm only not having a economically feasible meal. I'm paying more on top of
Yep.
it. And so when somebody says, how much money did you spend on food last month? How many people actually know?
Right.
And so whether you can actually live on $250 a month, and we can show you how to do it, and meal prep and plan for the week, because everybody that we see, myself included, I have more time than money. And so if I spend 2 hours on a Sunday, go into the grocery store, staying in motion, go home, do another hour and a half of prep,
Right.
I can set myself up for success for the week. I can make healthy choices. And all of that is like 2, 3, 4 hours of my weekend for the entire week. Or I can't even eat at Chipotle. Like if you get 3 tacos at Chipotle and a drink,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
it's
$15.
$15,
Right.
yeah.
And that's, lots of places are 20, and it's not even that
Yeah.
great.
You can't get a meal below $12.
And so it's, why are you going to do that to yourself?
Yeah.
So we're saying our whole class is built around getting your cost per meal under $5.
Right.
And so when you can control that, when you say 5 compared to 15, like all that costs is your time and some preparation, and we're going to give you the things that you need to do it. Like, why would you not take advantage of that? Is everybody going to do it? No. But it plants the seed.
Right, and this is perfect. Okay, so a couple things now. Hence, my name is the Smart Shopper, and one of the things that I am really good about is showing people how to save money on their grocery bill. As a matter of fact, I'm so good about it, I'm actually do a free workshop on just exactly that thing that you explained, and I'm actually going to do it on Saturday. I think this podcast will be aired in a week, but every Saturday throughout the Phoenix Public Library system, that's exactly what I've been teaching people. Is the thing about it is that here's what you said, and I'm going to say it like this. In order to really save, you have to do for you. You have to do things for you in order to save the most. And it's the same thing with food. So the more convenient your food is, the more expensive it's going to be. The least convenient it is, the cheapest it's going to be.
Right.
And there's another thing I wanted to give you a resource for your class people. And I don't mean to get off on tangent, but Good Eats, Leanne Brown, while she was getting her PhD, wrote this book on how you can eat a meal, and it was specially targeted towards people who are on food assistance programs below $4 a day. Now, this book was written in 2017, but I'm sure some of it still applies, and it's offered absolutely for free for people to download. So I want to give you that as a resource to help your clients.
I think we're always looking at
yeah,
anything.
it's a great book. So I didn't mean to get you sidetracked.
No, I mean, like,
and it was a
all
moment
of
for you
the-
to plug my class.
It is the number one way that people can take control of one thing that is absolutely within their control. Because it's hard for me to... People need to understand what's in their food, and we're never going to get down a nutrition rabbit
Right.
hole where you're
Yeah.
going to change somebody's mind
No.
about something. But I do know that people can understand the concept of you eat better, you feel better.
Yep.
And that's number one. And so whether it was a Starbucks example of, hey, don't pay $3, whatever it was 5-6 years ago,
Right.
or $5 now or $6 for a
Yes.
Starbucks, you can make it at home for like 20 cents.
Yep.
It's the same thing around food budgeting. And so we give people like a 2-week,
That's so
hey,
great.
here's a sample thing that you can take to the grocery store. There's also an app that you can use and say, here's what I have in my fridge. What could I make with these 4
Right.
things or 5 things? And so there's so many resources out there, and I'm always on the lookout for more. So I'd love to incorporate somebody local that is already out there doing it.
Yeah,
and then,
for sure.
Because the number one thing is just information. We're all about education.
Exactly.
We want to educate people. We hold them accountable, but we're really just creating empowerment to take control of your own life. Like,
Right.
if I don't have a pathway to my own apartment, like, what am I going to do?
Exactly.
I'm going to lose hope. I mean, there's a lot of lost hope around being a homeowner, but this is just your simple, how do I rent an apartment? And so if I don't have a way to save money, I mean, one of the things we just came from, we interviewed a former client that's been on his own for a year. So our success metrics
And I
that
wanted
we
to talk to you about that
in
too.
the housing program are the first step is, do they stay with us for 90 days? Do they save the requisite $5,000 and find their own apartment?
Right.
So that is hovering in the mid to high 60%
That's huge.
right now.
That's huge.
The second metric is, are they still successfully housed a year later
Yeah,
in their
then
own
that was-
apartment?
yeah.
And so that is in the 80s. And so that's been really great because
Darren, that's a huge.
We-
I mean, the statistics is even larger than.
it is really it's heartening to see that we're setting that people just needed a chance.
Yep, that's
right?
all it
and that's
is.
what it is. And the system's not. There's opportunity there, but it's for individuals that come through and are in that situation. There's not really a clear and easy pathway.
Totally.
And there's a long argument around. I always feel like you have to make this as easy and as simple as possible for people, and some people will say, well, they've got to really work for it, but they can do both. We're
They're
providing
really
an easy
working, yeah.
pathway, and this is hey, we're not, there's not curfews. You're going to sink or swim on your own. We hold you accountable, but you're going to do it using your own money, and the sense of accomplishment on the other side of that. But one of the questions I had for the gentleman today when we were doing the interview is, hey, what lessons did you learn inside the program that you still use today? And it was the financial budgeting, the food budgeting, and really understanding how to budget for gas. And it's like some people, it's not as expensive as it used to be, but those are areas that people just get used to. Just,
Right.
hey, I go until I don't have any money, and the restraint around trying to make a purchase so I feel good. I'm feeling empty. I don't have support today. You know what'll make me feel good? Buying a pair of Nikes or buying a purse,
Yeah.
or it's just that thing that we do to scratch that itch that is
Yeah.
this temporary
An easy
fix.
fix, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it has a
Exacerbates.
shelf life of however long. Like the new shoes is until everybody's seen them,
Right.
or the purse or whatever it is.
Until the
then,
next
and
thing.
then it's just emptiness
Right.
again. It sits in the corner.
Now, Darren, let me ask you a question. Getting back to the classes that you offer with the food budgeting and stuff like that, you said these are free to the public.
So we have started doing them on Wednesdays at 4:30
Uh-huh.
in our Palm Lane office. We got a brand new office on 7th Street in Palm Lane. It's 382 East Palm Lane. And basically, we have about 24 spaces. And so these classes that we were doing to our clients inside the Workforce Villages housing program,
Uh-huh.
we've now offered externally to anybody who wants to sign up for them.
Okay.
So the classes are personal finance, which is basically understanding a 50-30-20 budget rule. Some people it might be 60-30-10, but just understanding what that looks like and how to take each part of your check and allocate that to what your needs are, and also understanding the concept of paying yourself first.
Right,
You're
yes.
your biggest creditor. Pay
Yes.
yourself first.
Oh my God, I love that you teach people to do that, because what's the point of working if you can't
Say-
enjoy
right,
it?
Of course. And then the second part of that is understanding your credit score, what you can do about it, not
Yeah.
only now, but down the road. And if somebody's in some sort of debt management or strategies that you can handle. If, we try to work with people one-on-one with that. Our controller teaches that class. And really some of the things, there's no magic elixir for any of that.
Right.
But just here's the road to stay on the right path for it and what you can do short and long term.
Right, and if you stick with this, you'll be surprised how successful you are.
Right,
Do you also teach the concept of compound interest?
We do, and that, especially with anybody can get a savings account now, depending on, I don't know what the Fed's going to do next week, but I mean, you can actually get a savings account now in 3 or 4%.
Yep.
Like, so understanding the concept of compound interest
Right.
is applicable now, whereas before somebody had a savings account,
Right,
it would be
0.002,
nothing. So it is
right.
more important than it has been in years.
It also explains to people why you save money and why you really want to try not to pull it out.
Right.
Because that earns
Interest
free
on
money
interest,
there.
yeah. It's really, it's how to, another way to pay yourself.
Yeah.
The second class was built out of the finance class, which was how much money did you spend on food last month? Nobody knew. And so, or most people don't know. They can't say $411.
Right.
So they have a concept, but they don't really know how much are they spending on eating out and what does that look like. So the class is really designed about how to get your cost per meal under $5. We don't go through cooking demonstrations
Sure.
and really just conceptually, hey, here's the main proteins, starch is veg, here's a sample shopping list. But conceptually, how do you take control of your food budget
Yep.
and how do you make it work for you? And each person that comes to the housing program, and once a class, we give out like a whole meal prep kit and a $50 gift card to Kroger.
Oh my God, that's more than I give to my class. Oh man.
Well, this was a grant from Kroger, so it will
Sweet.
only last so long,
That's
and
so
that's part of
great.
it. But it's really there's really no reason somebody can't get started.
And
with
it's
that.
wait. So basically, if they take your class, they get $50.
Not everybody,
Okay.
one person a class.
Okay, sorry, one person. I misunderstood.
Yes, so
I'm so sorry.
And one person gets. We have a really nice like Rubbermaid meal
Yeah.
prep kit
I
that
love
does
it.
10 meals.
Okay.
And so it's like sectioned off like an old Swanson's Hungry
Yeah,
Man dinner,
yeah.
and they're really nice, and so it can get you set up for success. So there's really no reason not to do it.
So, Darren, I'm going to wrap this up. And by the way, you're coming back on this show because we're not even near done talking, because I want to hear about some stories that you've had, some success stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I want to wrap up the podcast because I don't want to. I know that I always find that people may not
Yeah,
find this
20
interesting
minutes
after
is
20
probably
minutes.
as much as somebody
right?
can handle.
So, where can people get a hold of you guys if they want to, if they need some help, or if they want to donate, or if a business wants to help you guys out?
Of course, yeah. Our website is SJW, so St. Joseph Worker Job, so sjwjobs.org.
Okay.
Not .com. So sjwjobs.org is our
Right.
website. You can see our social media on our Instagram
Okay.
is sjw.jobs. And you can see from you can go to some of our success stories on our YouTube page, talks about our housing program, really everything you can need you'll find on our website.
I will also have all the information on my blog at smartshopperdaphne.com, where people can get a hold of you, sign up for the free classes and all the things. And by the way, Darren, thank you so much for the work that you do in our community. You are uplifting people in our community.
It's my
And you're
pleasure.
doing it with a lot of thought.
I really, it's hard to believe that I get paid to do this.
Yeah.
And it's really a lot of fun to be able to see people get to that next
Yeah,
spot.
I can only imagine. Okay, that's it for the show. And it's, again, you guys, don't forget, I'm forgetting my tagline. Don't forget, guys, I'm Daphne Monroe, your smart shopper.